There's so much happening. Okay. I'm going right into it. Iran has launched its counterattack. Ladies and gentlemen, there are clouds coming out of Tel Aviv in the night sky like shooting stars. I could really use a wish right now. We're going to take a look at everything. Do not Fed post in the chat. Do not Fed post in the chat. That is crazy.
The conflict and saying he respected Israel's right to self-defense. That's coming to us in the last few moments, apparently from the Times. So we'll keep across that situation. As you can see, the Iron Dome, the defense system that Israel deploys, working successfully at the moment. Citizens across Israel have been told to go to shelters. Alerts and sirens have been sounding across the country. Keeping across the situation in Jerusalem and indeed Tel Aviv, that footage there of smoke rising on the horizon. Well, just 6 months ago, Iran's foreign minister told Sky News that Israel would be crazy
not an idiot immediately defend Israel ongoing terrorism.
Since then, including a nuclear deal proposed by Washington and a new assessment of how close Iran is to making nuclear bombs.
I can't believe they're still fucking talking about this. Jesus Christ. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look. Al Jazeera. Smoke billowing in Tel Aviv after a barrage of missiles targeted central Israel.
In Israel, and judging
the Iranian retaliation has started, ladies and gentlemen.
That looks like it's a residential area. We still obviously don't know if there's anyone been injured, but this
I think it's going to be limited. I think it's going to be restrained. I don't think that it's going to. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Iran has the smoke. But perhaps I'm wrong.
It absolutely was. And in fact, we heard from the Israeli Prime Minister, from the chief of the National Security Council.
Do we have a blast-off meme? Chatters, do we got a blast-off meme or not?
To mitigate, in order to limit the amount of damage that Iranian retaliation can do. And so there was an expectation of a very violent response from Iran. And this...
Oh, Bibi's on the run?
You know, as we've been hearing from military experts and analysts in Israel, is the beginning of such a response. We don't know, like I said, we don't have confirmation.
Can you imagine if
Greece, on the location,
a signatory of the ICC, can you imagine if Greece fucking turned around and arrested Benjamin Netanyahu? Please, for the love of Christ and all things holy, for the love of Allah, for the love of all the gods, okay? Could you imagine a world where during this Iranian retaliation, it's an excellent five-head play, an excellent 5D chess move, where Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, flies hold on. Anyway, as I was saying, I can't believe you were talking so highly of Greece and you call yourself a Turk. I mean, guys, I'm desperate. Okay, I'm desperate for justice. So yes, in desperate times, even a Turk such as myself will hope for Greece to do the right thing and not assume that they will be cowardly participants. Except they are going to be cowardly participants, let's be real. But I'm just fantasizing.
Is in a state of emergency. Schools have been shut down since the early morning hours, businesses as well. Everything by way of a normal daily routine has been halted, and only the very basics, the more than crucial activities are being allowed to proceed, including public transportation, that it's only being allowed to be used if absolutely necessary. Hospitals are on high alert. They've been told to clear as many beds as possible.
Medics in Tel Aviv, no initial injuries reported. That is expected.
Medical attention in smaller facilities. So there are those precautions, there are those preparations, plans that have been in place for months, if not years. They keep being updated on a regular basis because attacking Iran has been central to Israeli foreign policy, certainly under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu for many, many years. And the Israeli bureaucracy, the Israeli army is ready in terms of planning of how to respond, how to anticipate and try to mitigate any kind of damage to civilian infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much, Noor Al-Day, for that update on the latest that you're seeing, the situation that we're seeing in Tel Aviv with those explosions. We're still getting more information now. Iran has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel, and that's according to the Iranian news.
ABC special report just started.
Uncertainty and certainly one.
God damn, dude.
For the kids and possibly here.
Right, well, moments ago, the skies of Tel Aviv were ablaze as Iran fired a barrage of missiles.
We heard the radio announcement on the loudspeaker, like we've heard before, telling people to get to a shelter, and we'll be here until we get the all clear, and when it's apparently deemed safe to be able to leave this shelter here, Diane.
And Martha, we had already been told that there were plans underway to potentially try to
Israeli
get
Ministry of
American
Defense headquarters has just been struck. Okay, there's going to be a lot of fake news that's flying around everywhere, by the way. Obviously, first of all, let's blast off. I just dove right into it, and there's a lot of backstory that I have to cover, but obviously the breaking story is happening at this very moment. Had to get into it immediately, but yes, moments ago, Iranian missiles were launched towards Israel, and from what I understand, multiple missiles have not been successfully intercepted. Remember, this is a multi-billion-dollar operation. You got Tamir interceptors that are for the smaller munitions, like, and you have the Arrow systems in Israel as well. But then on top of that, you have anti-defense missile systems to protect Israel and Jordan, and you have the entirety of the American Central Command working actively to stop, working actively in real time to stop all of these fucking missiles from touching a hair on the head of anyone in Israel. And even then, in spite of all of that, Iranian missiles have been able to penetrate into Tel Aviv, as you have seen before, and they're still doing it. I mean, you can see it. Look, the ones that are flying from the ground are the interceptor missiles. They're anti-defense missile systems, and yet, in spite of that, the Iron Dome can be overwhelmed, as the Iranian retaliation last time around showed. This seemingly, according to Elant News, who's in the chat already, appears to be in the vicinity of IDF headquarters. We don't have enough information coming yet. Obviously, Israel also has deep censorship laws. I mean, even though they got hella fucking smartphones out there, and there's like literally Israeli chatters in here who can just like confirm or deny what's going on. But I think last time when this happened, the Israeli military immediately applied censorship and tried to stop the information from coming out, like confirming strike targets and whatnot. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because obviously in the interim there is going to be some misinformation. There's going to be a lot of misinformation flying around as always. So just, you know, be aware of that when you're bringing in information here, and try to go after trusted resources. I suspect that Iran is not done yet. This barrage is just simply the first salvo. There will be more that comes. They have to, in terms of self-preservation, self-defense, and ensuring that they do not get completely eviscerated. I suspect that the Iranian government's calculation here is going to be part restrained, so not so aggressive that they actively try to take out like heads of state or anything like that. Just like Israel itself demonstrates some of that restraint in comparison to how fucking belligerent they are when they don't actually go after heads of state and stuff like that, but they assassinated a big chunk of the military command. They assassinated some top military officials, some nuclear scientists in residential areas. I don't know the exact number of casualties in Iran due to the Israeli strikes. But there was a relatively sophisticated infiltration campaign that Mossad had conducted, as far as I understand. This is not like glazed to Israel at all, but I think it also shows a weakness within Iranian national security that directly stems from the resentment that the Iranian population, some in the Iranian population, have towards this administration due to its fundamentalist attitudes, especially amongst the Iranian youth, and also the fact that the country is in turmoil economically, and it's much easier to basically purchase allegiances internally within Iran. The fact that Mossad was able to create a drone shop inside of Tehran, from what I understand, and then utilize those drones immediately to take out anti-air defense systems that Iran has, and then go after the missile salvo, goes beyond the notion of Israel gets to do whatever it wants and can use overwhelming force because they're backed by the most powerful country on the planet. Obviously, that plays a major role. There are no repercussions for Israel, but make no mistake, the very fact that they are able to build a drone facility, like a tiny drone facility, inside of Iranian national boundaries implies that there are massive fucking leaks within the IRGC, within the Iranian government, and that they can take advantage of the Iranian population's discontent to a certain degree. So this is a major problem for Iranian sovereignty in general. This is a major problem for Iranian security, and I suspect that a big part of the reason why this is even taking place, or even took place, is because of that glaringly obvious weakness, one that I have even mentioned in the past. The regime's attitude and fundamentalist attitude specifically, paired up with the economic sanctions strangling the economy of Iran, and causing volatility, creates a major weakness that the Israeli intelligence has clearly exploited successfully. Now, like I said, does Iran have the capability of really punishing Israel, like doing the deed, right? Doing the thing that people are worried about, understandably, like killing a bunch of civilians or potentially even assassinating like heads of state, or even simultaneously activating sleeper cells that I suspect they might have internally inside of Israel, as they did last time around. No, it's not, of course not situation. It's more so governments have tremendous power. Does Israel have the power to assassinate the Iranian head of state? Yes. Did they do that? No, not yet, at least. Okay? You forget. Just as Iran has more power than what it is showing right now. Okay? Israel calls for regime change all the time. There's a difference between calling for regime change for decades and then actually forcibly decapitating the regime. The idea that Iran does not have enough prowess or enough power to be able to really deal a massive blow to Israel, in spite of Israel's unimaginable defense capabilities that we are fucking paying for, by the way. The answer is they could. It's more so a matter of do they want it? Do they want the American response that will come in retaliation? Are they willing to withstand? Are they willing to go to the unimaginable? Are they willing to go to the place where maybe it's World War III, Because Israel's goal, very clearly in unison with the United States of America, because Israel and America are not separate entities. They work alongside one another. They're hand in glove. Israel and America is the same, okay? I need you to understand this. This is a very important thing that people refuse to recognize. This is the reason why I kept repeating myself over and over again, saying Donald Trump and fucking Israel are like this. There is no real divide. The only divide maybe could be from how narcissistic he is, but beyond that, in terms of foreign policy goals, this is not Israel's doing. This is America's doing. America is the primary responsible party here. America and Israel are like this. They are one inseparable unit. Israel is simply America's wishes in the region, America's grand design in the region. Okay? That's precisely the reason why myself and a few other people in the process of like Donald Trump doing his like Middle Eastern conversations, in the process of like getting Idan Alexander, it was like myself, Zay Squirrel, I think it was like 4 other people that were like, this is bullshit and it's most likely not going to amount to anything, in spite of the fact that plenty of very smart commentators were still assuming that there could be a real separation between Israel and America here, but it was not happening. It was all just smoke and mirrors. And very clearly, the negotiation process, I said, the negotiation process was being used to basically develop this perfectly crafted, this perfectly crafted strike against Iran, a fairly sophisticated military campaign that they've obviously been implementing, that they've obviously been planning for quite a while. They don't get to do this without America's go-ahead. They don't get to do this without America's logistics. I'm talking about Israel, of course, and what they did last night. And I covered this extensively when they struck Tehran and they struck the nuclear facility as well, one of the nuclear facilities, and killed a bunch of nuclear scientists and also high-level IRGC commanders. Now, while Iran does clearly have the targeting capabilities of striking Tel Aviv and overwhelming the Iron Dome, as we have shown, Iron Dome is not the only defense that Israel has. There's numerous defenses. Will they actually deploy enough munitions to really punish Israel, to really actually show Israel their prowess and force Israel to back away, force Israel to back down, especially now that Israel has communicated, as we covered yesterday, on numerous occasions, that they are invested in a much longer military campaign here. Okay, because they called the American troops to move away from Bahrain and Kuwait. They called the embassies to pull out. Americans did, knowing full well that Iran was going to retaliate. And then the Israeli government came out and basically said, this is our big, last, final huzzah. This is the thing that they have been waiting for, attacking Iran and pulling America into the fucking battle and basically going to war with Iran is the final design, is the final piece of the puzzle for Israel and America's ambitions in the region.
They cannot think that they've hit us and it's over. No, they started this. And now they've launched a war. We will not let them get away with this large-scale crime. The forces of the Islamic Republic will deliver huge blows to the Zionist regime. My dear people should know that we have no shortcomings in delivering an answer to this.
Right, well, let's unpack some of the incredible pictures that we're seeing that not only have been coming out of Tel Aviv. You can hear those air raid sirens there warning people to get into their shelters, but we've also been seeing Israel attacking Iran also in the last few hours. Let's go to our senior political analyst, Marwan Bishara from Paris. Marwan, we're just hearing those air sirens. Anyone familiar with the area will know that that usually means attacks, missile attacks most likely. And it seems now Iran has confirmed that there is a second wave.
It was actually interesting that the Iranians decided to respond so quickly, so speedily to the Israeli bombing last night. Clearly, the political, the strategic, and even the public relations damage caused by the Israeli bombing was as such that the Iranian government had to respond as quickly as possible in order to restore some kind of a confidence in the government and in order to show that it is capable of responding to a sudden, unprovoked Israeli bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, I think, as you were saying earlier, I'm not sure if it's residential, but certainly if Iran is attacking civilian infrastructure in Tel Aviv, then I think that would continue to change the equation and perhaps allow for even greater escalation moving forward.
Marwan, when we're looking at those live pictures, what we're seeing now is those missiles
Israel's
being
awful, but their air defenses paid for by the U.S. are really impressive. Yeah, it's ours. We are doing this. That's why I'm saying this is a... That's why I am saying this right here, what you are experiencing, what you are watching is our doing. This, we paid for it, we built it, we did the R&D. This is what we are doing. I can hear the interception above my house right now. We allow the Israeli state to be as violent as it wants to be. We want the Israeli state to be as violent as it wants to be. Israeli racism that actually allows, and the dehumanization of Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims alike, makes it feel like Israeli society is on board with everything that's going on, and to a certain degree they are, right? But that is just making it easier for America to enact its ambition in the region. Israel and America are not separate entities. Do not mistake. Make no mistake. Israel and America are not separate entities at all. Okay? This isn't what is it? The tail wagging the dog situation whatsoever. It's not like, oh, this is the Zionist occupied government or whatever the fuck people say. Okay? Everyone in the American government is a Zionist in the sense that they are like pro-Israel because they're pro-America, and their calculation is, as Joe Biden very famously said, if Israel did not exist, we'd make one. Okay?
Is capable of defending against long-range missiles from the likes of Iran. But certainly, if Iran decides to launch a whole bunch of them against one particular angle, it's going to be very difficult for Israel to fend against all of them. So predictably, some will eventually fall. And that and by itself will be a new development for Israel, whereby such huge missiles would be able to, create damage in the city centers of Israel. Now, in as far as the United States is concerned,
remember,
now we have to ask ourselves a whole bunch of questions because our old assumptions no longer work.
Also, remember, Israeli society is designed for this as well. Obviously, the Iron Dome has created a ridiculous sense of comfort for Israeli society that who knows how they'll react to this level of disruption. Having said that, however, they knew that this was going to happen, and they very quickly said, essential services only, we're fighting Iran, we're going to strike Iran, we're going to go to war with Iran. Like, it was a basic war declaration, right? And they knew that there was going to be retaliation, which is why I assume all the fucking, the remaining anti-Zionist Jewish Israelis in my chat right now are probably watching from a fucking bunker. There are protections for this. Right? You have the Iron Dome, you have the Arrow defense systems, you have numerous incredibly expensive defense systems. They are not infinite, though. They do not have infinite ammunition. They have the THAAD, they have the Patriot, they have American defense as well, working alongside the Israeli defenses. They have the Jordanian defense that is also intercepting missiles and drones. David Sling is another one as well. Just something to consider. Iran's air defense is now actually working at intercepting Israeli attacks. Yes, I suspect that they blew their first load. I don't know if there's more. I'm sure there might be. But oh fucking Christ, the alert's busted again. Jesus Christ. Hold on. I'm getting an editor to look at it. Is it possible Iran could get some help from somewhere else? No. Iran has no allies. Russia is entirely too busy doing an illegal and unjustifiable occupation of Ukraine. Obviously, and China is a non-interventionist. At most, they'll offer some supplies. You know, who knows? But obviously, Hezbollah is gutted, eviscerated by endless bombing from Israel against Lebanon. And, you know, there's no, it's just Yemen. And I believe Yemen this morning, before Iran even struck, actually turned around and sent a missile that struck, I think, the West Bank. It might have hit Hebron. Not sure if they actually hit a Jewish settlement in Hebron or if they actually hit a Palestinian Palestinian village in Hebron. But the entire axis of resistance against American imperialism and Israel in the region is incredibly limited. It's just militancies that Iran funds and offers logistics to and offers training to. And the takeover of Syria obviously played a major role in the supply chain, destroying the supply chain that... Yeah, look, the Houthi missile fired earlier this hour was not intercepted, according to the IDF. It struck near the West Bank town of Hebron. So with Syria being overtaken by an American asset, with Zelensky, former Al-Qaeda, Zelensky, there is no sustainable way of sending munitions into Lebanon for Hezbollah to utilize against Israel now. Anyway, here's some images. It is also very interesting seeing like Fox News and Western media coverage over like some apartment complexes in Tel Aviv incurring damages, because like now you know how the media covers like actual human beings in a densely populated civilian area when they get bombed. Like they remembered that there are humans in those buildings. So it's also the dichotomy is very interesting, because like literally not even 24 hours ago they were talking about how awesome it was that Israel was like, you know, launching this incredibly sophisticated campaign in Tehran. But once once Israel gets penalized in retaliation from a sovereign state that it violated the sovereignty of, all of a sudden everyone's like the horror, the shock, I can't believe it. Meanwhile, of course, Israel has been doing a fucking ethnic cleansing campaign that it even escalated in the last 48 hours in Gaza. Okay? Like, that helmet is not going to help you, big dog. You know what I mean? Trey, what's that helmet going to do, Trey? It's not going to help.
Is Iran capable to, in its words, unleash so much chaos in the country there? Is it capable of doing it now, especially being hit by Israel?
You mean the West Bank? Wait, what? No, they're hitting Tel Aviv, big dog. The fucking clouds of smoke are coming from Tel Aviv. Obviously, the Yemen targeting capabilities are very different than Yemen's targeting capabilities are very limited in comparison to the Iranian targeting capabilities.
But in terms of those hits that left enormous craters just north of Tel Aviv, very close to the Mossad headquarters, you know, I was there on the ground, and when you saw the size of those craters, had that struck a building, you would be talking about incredible damage, enormous numbers of casualties. And so the Israelis did get quite lucky.
Soon in Tehran, Israeli minister posed with son of deposed Iranian monarch. Israeli Diaspora Affairs Minister Amichai Chikli shared a photo with Reza Pahlavi, the exiled Iranian opposition figure. Yeah, they're like, we're going to put back the fucking monarchy. We're going to restore the monarchy so that you can have a democracy, a democratic monarchy in Iran.
Devastating picture in terms of casualties on the ground. You know, the sources that I've been speaking to in Israel over the course of the last 24 hours have all made clear that they expected that Iran's retaliation this time would look quite different, that it would be much more significant than what we saw in October. And while we certainly haven't yet seen that in terms of the numbers of missiles that Iran appears to have fired, at least according to the information we have right now from the Israeli military, it certainly is looking like those Israeli officials were right when they predicted a very significant Iranian retaliation. And then, of course, you have to keep in mind that this is likely going to continue for days, if not weeks. You know, the Israeli military, the Israeli prime minister has made clear that Israeli attacks in Iran will not be limited to a one-day operation. We have seen, of course, Israeli jets.
Yeah, that's the other side. Red Alert app in Israel has crashed. I mean, it makes sense. The entire fucking skyline is lit up right now. It's just the Red Alert app is insignificant to use in the situation. It's just all Red Alert. Everything is red. Hey, Hassan, how can I explain to my Cuban mother that Israel's engaging in a genocide? I don't know. I don't know how, if they haven't figured it out by this point. I mean, just literally tell them all the children that Israel has murdered. And also, it is utterly irrelevant in this at this point. Like that part is an utterly irrelevant piece of the puzzle here. Okay. Anyway, if America intervenes, Iran should burn the Saudi oil fields. That is the nuclear option. The real nuclear option here that Iran has is not necessarily like actual nukes, but it's actually disrupting the entirety of global trade with its action against the oil refineries. Okay. The skyline live, by the way, third wave coming soon. Yeah. So Netanyahu calls Iran strikes necessary to prevent the war he just started. I like that The Onion is trying to not be aggressive in its commentary, for the record. Wouldn't China intervene before it came to that? I don't know. I suspect. Okay. Iranian news outlets announce a second wave of missile strikes on Israel labeled Operation True Promise 3. In addition to military sites, the attacks are suggested to be targeting nuclear facilities inside Israel as well. The thing is, they don't have they don't have a reliable way of consistently pummeling targets targets inside of Tel Aviv, targets inside of Israel in general. They don't. So it's more so about overwhelming the defense systems to the best of their ability, while also having a couple of the missiles that they lobbed get through. Iran does not have a way of consistently striking inside of Israel in a way that, like, Israel has a way of, in the same way that Israel is allowed to do this, or Israel is capable of doing this, specifically because Israel can do precise striking. Israel can fly and get refueled on the way, all the way over to Iran, and make up that distance and use airplanes to directly, like jet fighters, to directly target inside of Iran, right? Iran can't do that. Iranian Air Force does not have the capability, obviously, and also Iran would have to fly over hostile airspace to be able to get there. That's never going to happen. So the only thing that they have at their disposal is missile strikes and drone swarms. Okay? Israel starts this. My friend, there's never been a moment where Israel hasn't started shit, okay? Hold on. But yeah, second and third wave of ballistic missile strikes is making its way to Israel right now. How much is Jordan helping? A lot. You should stop reading chat. What do you mean? The hypersonics that Iran are using are not getting intercepted in great numbers. This isn't even about overwhelming the defenses. Listen. There are... this is the decades happening, if you know what I mean. All right, this is the decades happening in weeks right now.